Hello and welcome to All In on Blue. I'm David and Taylor, and we're here today with a special guest, Zac Erekson. Glad to have you here, Zac.
No, thank you. Glad to be here.
Zac is a good friend of mine and has coached me for a long time in football. He's a Springville native, a 12-time letterman in high school, went on to play football at Dixie State before he transferred to BYU. After a successful run coaching high schools around Texas and leading Skyline High School in Salt Lake City, he's now the head coach of the Snow College Badgers, where he led them to a national runner-up finish in 2021. And we're excited to have you on today, Zac.
Before we get started, though, I just have to ask you, Zac, what was it like to coach Taylor?
High school Taylor or college Taylor?
Both. Let's hear it.
I think those are two different people. I think early on when I first met Taylor, I think Taylor would probably tell you that I didn't think he could play football very much when we first met.
I was deep on the depth chart, that's for sure.
And really, I think it was just early on getting Taylor to believe in himself and his abilities in high school. And by the time we got him to his senior year, I think he did a pretty good job with that. You know, I know he was one of the top receivers in the state as a senior, and then he disappeared on us for 2 years. Went away down to, I know where you went on your mission, right? Brazil, yes. Okay. And then popped back up, and I was an assistant coach at Snow College and had to assist our head coach in letting him get Taylor on our team.
Give him a kick in the butt a little bit.
And then I think the rest is history. We finally started to get some of our award boards back up because we had done some remodeling and we built a new building in 2019. And so they had taken down some of the, our All-Americans and our bowl games and championships and stuff like that. And so we finally got those back up and got them up to date. And when we put them back up about 2 months ago, there's only one name that is on there 3 times, and that is Taylor Larsen. He was a 3-time All-American for us down there at Snow College. And to achieve that, especially at a place where we've had so many great players coming out of Snow College, guys that have gone on and played big-time Division I football, guys that have and are currently playing in the NFL. Like I said, of all of those names, only one is up there 3 times, and it's this guy.
Well, now you got me blushing. Thanks. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, no, I would say probably some of the funnest times of my life have been spent on the football field with this guy. So we're grateful to have him on here, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, you had a lot of success that you're bringing up, Snow, of getting guys, recruiting talent, but then sending that talent on to colleges all over the country, P4, and then a bunch of guys have even gone on to the NFL. What can you tell us about what it takes to develop that kind of talent? Because we're looking at BYU is one of those schools that takes, sometimes at least is known for taking maybe not the 4 and 5-star guys, right, and developing that talent. What does it take for a coaching staff to really develop talent and develop a team to win that is maybe full of 2 and 3-star guys?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's evolved a lot over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Where when I first got to Snow College, we were a lot of our roster was going to be built up of what probably could have been 3, 4, 5-star players that didn't qualify academically through the NCAA clearinghouse. And so then COVID hit and it kind of blew up everything. And then the NCAA said, oh, well, you know what? Let's just keep some of these rules in place. One of which was no need for entrance exam scores. So SAT, ACT is no longer a part of being a qualifier at the NCAA level. And so that then kind of changed who and how we were able to recruit.
A lot more guys started qualifying for NCAA.
Yeah, correct. And so, now all you got to do is go sweet talk your English teacher and say, hey, I need you to change that D- to a B-. Yeah. And when you're a 4-star recruit, chances are that's going to get taken care of for you, right, wrong, or indifferent. But, and so, really, I think it starts with just being able to recognize talent first and foremost. I think, at the junior college level, we're importers and exporters, right? We've got to recruit guys in, but then we also know what the objective of getting them out is the second part of that as well. And so Our coaching staff has done a great job of identifying the talent early on. And then when we get them down there, I think one of the things that people outside of the building may or may not understand about our program is, we may not have the best football players when they come in. But when these guys kind of buy into our culture and they buy into what we're trying to do to develop them in all aspects of their life, usually that tends to lead towards success in all aspects of their life. They're going to become better students. They're going to become better people. They're going to become stronger and faster in the weight room. And then all of that hopefully should translate onto the football field. And then that gives them an opportunity when they're done at Snow College to get recruited out of there and go play at the next level. So
that brings me into something else that I don't think people fully understand. When they hear junior college, they think, oh, that's like glorified high school. But junior college football at a high level like we play, I was opening up a pack of football cards with my stepbrother the other day. He opened up a football card with Tajon Palmer from the Arizona Cardinals. He was my teammate at Snow College. So, I mean, I have teammates that are getting drafted year in, year out that are playing at top colleges. Keontae Scott's at Miami right now. We have 2 players on BYU that are complete standouts that were part of the national championship run that we made. I think people don't understand that junior college really is high level football, but what makes maybe a program different, like Snow and some others that are consistently year in, year out at the top of the rankings, is their culture, like you mentioned. And that's one thing that Zac really was able to contribute to the athletes that he was able to get us to buy into a culture that not every other junior college was able to do. Everyone's got the crazy athletes, right? But it's who can put a team together at the junior college level. What do you think your culture has meant to Snow College? How do you build a culture in a program with maybe some junior college athletes that's a little bit tougher?
I'll tell you what, it is tough. And one of the things that I tell our coaches on a regular basis is you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. And, usually when we're talking about those things, those are negative things that are taking place. And so trying to eliminate those things as best we can. We can't allow, the poor choices to be made on a continuous basis. We've got to find a way to get the young men to try to understand not only to change their behavior, but why are we trying to get them to change their behavior? Why are we trying to get them to become better at everything? And you've seen it firsthand. That I would dare say a junior college locker room is even more eccentric than maybe some of these big time college locker rooms. Yeah. We have dudes from every walk of life at every stage in life. Mm-hmm. And so trying to get all of those guys on the same page and buying into, the things that we believe are program builders for us. Something that Taylor's heard his entire football life, probably since he's been 15. We're going to build our program on discipline, effort, team, and honor. And those are things that we talk about every single day, and we try to apply lessons somewhere in those every single day. And so just the repetitiveness of that, being intentional with what we're talking about, I think tends to lead to being able to sustain a culture like that.
So we've seen at BYU, there's obviously some magic happening in the last couple of years. Speaking to that culture, is there something in the water in Provo? Is it the snow pipeline, or what are these coaches doing currently, this current staff and team leaders as well, to create a winning culture at BYU? What do you think?
Well, of course, it's the snow pipeline.
Yeah, 100%.
You got JT kicking butt on the D line.
You're not winning without JT.
That's right. And you got Jada, who's playing
anchor in the O line.
That's one of the best. He's playing outstanding football right now. I think
he's made huge progression over the last couple of years.
And so I really think Kalani, from the day Kalani stepped foot on campus, he's been working to build his culture. And I think right now, over the course of the last 2-3 years, I think you've really seen him settle into just being himself, right? And those of us that know him personally, that's what we're seeing. He's now at this point, he's just able to be himself. Yes, yeah. Which is the player's coach and the loving guy that really wants to be, every person that Kalani meets feels like they're his best friend, right? He does such a good job of that. And so I think when he's able to be comfortable in himself, that resonates in the program. And now the kids are comfortable being themselves, and they do a really good job of fitting kids that not only are good football players, but then can fit that culture.
Another thing too is that it seems like at BYU, everybody has kind of arrived at that same stage where, from players that I've talked to, everyone's comfortable being themselves and contributing with their own personality to the team. I look back on that team we had at Snow in 2021, and that's where culture kind of went from, yes, we have a good culture, to this is what a good football culture looks like. Is every single person on that team, I mean, I talk to them still, and it's like we're brothers. Like I talk to them on the phone, it's like we're brothers. And there are teams like that. But this Snow College team that we had was outstanding, and I think that contributed to a lot of the wins that we got. Wasn't necessarily because we were more talented than the team across from us. It was because we knew exactly what each other were going to do. We knew exactly how to respond when there was adversity together. And that's what's seeming to be happening at BYU, is that there are these games where it's looking like we're supposed to lose this football game. There are games where on the stat sheet, we lost that football game, but the culture that the people on the team, the players and the coaches are able to put that together. And that seems like what's carrying BYU through these games right now.
I'd probably steal something that Ray Lewis said this last week when he was visiting Colorado that I think speaks exactly to what you're saying. He said, when he's watching Colorado football right now, he's watching a bunch of individuals walking out onto the football field. They run out of the tunnel, and it's kind of an individual entrance almost, if you will. And he said, until all of you guys run out of that tunnel with the same spirit about yourself, then you're going to continue to, struggle and not be able to find the success you're looking for. And I think that's definitely something that we're seeing in Provo right now, is when those guys come out, when they step foot on the field. And I would even say, when you see them in their interviews, when you see them out in public, they all have that same spirit about them that is that Kalani culture that's in Provo right now. And man, it's fun to see. It is really fun.
And it starts with the coaching. It carries through to the team, and then it carries out. You see it even carrying through the fans. The Rock. I mean, it's amazing the momentum that's been generated from this team and the excitement around the team and the culture that is carrying from the team throughout Provo and BYU fandom in general. It's exciting.
I was really impressed with how Kalani and all the players handled the rivalry as well, because I think that Kalani's really taken himself, and from what I don't know Kalani personally, but from what it sounds like, is his love for the gospel and the way he knows he should be is kind of bleeding into the way he coaches and the way his locker room is, the way that his players respond. And then now it's bleeding into Cougar Nation. And it's really cool to see how he handles even disagreement, or maybe how he feels deep down maybe about the rivalry or whatever. And I think it's really cool.
I think he really does feel the way he says he feels about the rivalry, right? I mean, he loves Kyle Whittingham.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. That was his boss for 10 years. Gave him his opportunity to be where he is. And I truly feel that he loves that man.
Oh, yeah.
And you can hear it in his voice when he talks about it. And so while I think it's fun for him to be back on the correct side of the rivalry, right?
Found himself in the wrong shoes for a while.
He bleeds blue for sure. He always has.
I think it's so cool that he has been able to kind of cool the temperature, I think, because we all know it got pretty nasty there for a while. Yeah. I mean, I have sons that are 10 and 11 right now. I still don't know that I would take them to a game at Rice Eccles against BYU. I'll take them to Rice Eccles against anybody else. Mm-hmm. And then, and my middle son right now is going through a weird phase where he thinks he wants to be a Utah fan instead of a BYU fan. Like, he tried to wear a Utah shirt to the BYU game the other night, to the rivalry game. Oh no. And that was a fight. That was a no-go. Yeah, that was a fight.
You're not getting in the car.
Yeah, buddy. Exactly. And so, but I think Kalani is the one that has really been the biggest part in kind of cooling that temperature and saying, listen, we got to do this the right way. Yeah. I loved the videos that came out with both presidents leading up to the rivalry this week in And yes, let's cheer for our teams, and this can be a strong, intense rivalry, but we got to do it the right way.
Well, and it's an alignment, right, of the BYU football program with the principles, with the mission of BYU, what BYU stands for, what the church, the sponsoring church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, stands for, that I think really helps a lot of the fans fall in line and get excited as well, as that's a part of that culture. To be able to say, like you said, we love Utah, right?
Yeah.
We love these guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though, we hate them when we're on the field, right? We love them.
For 60 minutes, you want to beat the crap out of them, and that's okay. And as soon as that clock hits double zeros, right, they're your brothers and literally brothers, in this case. And
and it was interesting as we were watching because Dallin Bentley, who played with me at Snow, and I mean, he's just an absolute stud for Utah. He's their best tight end. He's their best pass catcher, I would argue. And it was interesting because I don't like Utah very much and at all. And you're watching Dallin Bentley playing for the Utes, and like I find we were talking about it. He catches a pass, and we're like, yes, no, yeah, like stop, get down, But at least it's him, And there's so much crossover that there's that between the players too. I think it's the fans that need the tempering.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's been good for us, but. Speaking of BYU and your experience with them, what has being a BYU alum, maybe even separate from football, what has being a BYU alum meant to your life?
Well, I mean, I was going to say,
we've got your wife in studio.
If you want to talk about
Julie Erekson is in studio.
The best part of my life would be my wife, which I found at BYU. And it's really funny how when you get the two of us in a room and kind of talk about how we both ended up at BYU, I mean, and this is something that I don't know that we necessarily agree on, meaning Julie and I'm not a big, there's only one person, like soulmates. Like I could have been anyone.
Anyone could have drawn the short straw and ended up with this.
Exactly. Had to deal with me. But I think when we look at the way that our past got us to BYU, it's just very interesting, and how we ended up in the same place at the same time. I mean, for some reason, and it's even funnier if you back up a little bit. My dream school growing up was University of Michigan. I wanted to go play at the University of Michigan and play in the big house. And I remember getting my first Division I scholarship offer to the University of Oregon when I was a junior. And I thought, this really probably is in reach, like to go play at Michigan. Well, guess where Julie's first Division I golf scholarship offer came from?
Where?
University of Michigan. And so it's really kind of funny that now, obviously, she didn't go there and she ended up at BYU. And luckily, she got there and waited for me. I got there a couple years after her. I took a little detour, but I think the BYU, it's just such a special place that you can go there and you can put yourself in an environment that allows you to grow in every aspect of your life from the vantage point of the gospel. And I don't think that there's anywhere else on planet Earth. I mean, maybe the other BYU universities, around the world, but I think being able to have that vantage point as where you start is something that has probably stuck with me more than anything else.
Well, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's bled over into your coaching.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a big Bronco guy, and I know Bronco incorporated both the gospel and football very well.
Yeah.
And I know that coaching at Snow College, you can't necessarily be quoting scripture, right? But I've noticed in the way that you coach, the way that you bleed that over into, hey, this is a lifetime. This isn't a week in, week out. We're playing Iowa Western this week. This is your lifetime. This is how you need to be in and out. And I think BYU, I would say you could attribute some of that to BYU and the things you've learned there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you bring Bronco up in that, and it's really funny because I will admit I was one that fall camp of 2005. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
That's what Bronco is known for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the part that I think a lot of people don't know, especially people that weren't in the building, is that it was a big change for current guys that were on the roster prior to that, to us new guys that were coming in with him, to see church and football go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that had ever happened for any of us at that point. And a lot of people didn't like it. And,
Yeah, there
and
are a lot of controversy.
I was one of the guys that was like, what are we doing? Why can we just play football? Like, we're here to play football. And that was how I felt early on. But, it's really funny. I've been coaching 17 years now, I think. And I look back and I'm like, I don't know that I would want to do it any other way. And even though, right, being at a state institution in a public school, you, like Taylor said, you don't necessarily get to completely put that at the forefront. But I mean, there's a lot of things that I can still incorporate in that, in how we run our program. I've got a picture of Christ on my desk, and people ask questions. Yesterday, when one of my assistant coaches and I were driving through Manti, he was asking about the temple, and we got to have conversations about the temple. And, just any opportunity that we get to be able to share that in, what our prophets have taught us, natural ways and
the principles, right? I mean, the principles apply. And I'm sure as a head coach recognize, I know you do, I've seen it, in watching you coach Taylor, those principles that you recognize. It's more than just coaching young men here. I'm helping these young men become men, fathers, husbands, right? Community leaders and so forth. Not just good football players.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't know how many times Taylor's probably heard me say, like, I will be more happy. We talk about Tajon Palmer, right? Mm-hmm. Taylor's teammate, one of my favorite players I've ever coached, is playing in the NFL, right? And he's being uber successful. And those of us that know him, we are so excited. When he got drafted, it was like we all got drafted with him that night. It was the coolest thing in the world, right?
We were in front of the TV till the sixth round.
Till the sixth round, just waiting. And that excitement, you can't really explain. But then when this guy calls me and tell me that baby Jane's on the way, and I get a picture of him and his daughter, like, you get just as excited. And to watch him be a dad and be a husband, that really is more, for me personally, is probably something that I would take pride in more, that my players are being successful in that sense of life than, probably than anything else. And it's not just Taylor, right? Like, we had Taylor's quarterback, Garrison Beach, came to a game a couple weeks ago. I think he came to the Iowa Western game, and to be able to see him and his wife and see that they're doing so well and that they're getting ready to start a family. I mean, that type of stuff, it's hopefully I do a good job. And I don't know how good of a job I do, but hopefully we're able to instill those principles that we learn at BYU into those young men.
So we've got lots of young, shifting gears just a little bit. We've got lots of young fans, right? Young boys that dream of playing football at a college level, maybe at BYU, right? I was one of those as a kid. I mean, what kid wasn't, right? Especially I grew up with parents and then we've got a lot of older fans who just have a lot of memories about BYU football. What's one memory on the football field, Zach, that really stands out? Maybe that thing that just still gives you chills.
You want me to pick one?
Okay, give us a couple.
Two. I'll give you two. Because really there's two top ones and then everything else kind of. So I think number one, right, is being at Rice Eccles in 2006 and, watching John Beck. It felt like it took forever for that play. You're standing there on the sideline. Even
watching at home, it was forever.
I mean, you're standing there on the sideline and you're just going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, from my vantage point, right, I was standing on about the opposite 40-yard line looking, north at them. And all of a sudden you see John just turn and chuck the ball. None of us can see Johnny yet, right? We're watching John. And so you just see him chuck it and you're like, did he just throw? Oh my gosh. And there's that, right? And so and being able to celebrate out there and I have some of my, to this day, one of my very best friends is Brian Keel. And to be able to celebrate not only with him, but with our other teammates up there, that was awesome. And then number two was the year prior, we went to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and coming out of the tunnel, you got touchdown Jesus behind you. And then you have Notre Dame's band playing the Cougar fight song. It was so cool. And it was, you've seen Rudy and you've seen all these things about Notre Dame. And now it's not the same, right? They've got turf but they had tall grass to slow everybody down. And they had the yellow flowers on the sidelines. And what a lot of people don't know, there was not a single advertisement in the entire stadium. Not one. And so all it was wooden benches all the way around.
Felt like it threw you back in time.
It was, and so I
Those Rockney days.
yeah, those two things by far, stick out the best, and those are memories that are I just love, and hope I remember them for the rest of my life. I don't think I got too many concussions. I think I'm doing pretty good up here, but
What do you think the toughest environment for you to play in on the road was? Like, do you remember going into a stadium and being like,
yes. So
wow.
I think Utah is probably, back then, when we were playing in the Mountain West, Utah was bad because the fans were bad. They made very personal attacks, but I think my least favorite, I hated going to Laramie. It was cold.
I've heard that.
It was cold. The wind blew 100 miles an hour. Like most of the time it snowed, because I swear we always went in late November. Yeah. And the fans would throw beer. Like it was bad. I didn't like Laramie not one bit. And so going to Wyoming was not very fun.
Yeah. Now when it seems like if we ever play Wyoming, it's earlier in the year. It's just not the same.
Yeah, no,
that's the same.
We're not going to voluntarily schedule them in November again.
No.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So BYU's at 8-0 right now. What is it that you think has led us to this point? What's behind it? What's happening right now? I mean, in this current run. I mean, we did this last year. There's some things that are distinctly different from my perspective. I think from a general fan's perspective. What's your opinion? Maybe having a little bit of inside look contacts into this. What's happening at BYU right now?
I think you would get very different answers from different people. So like as a fan, let me put myself in that seat first, right? And as a fan, I would say that we've played very opportunistic football, right? We every time we've needed to take advantage of a situation in a game, right? Let's start with Iowa State. This last game, the punt bounces off the kid's foot. We get it. We score, change the whole trajectory of the game. Those things have all gone in our favor this year, right? And so we've been a very opportunistic football team this year.
I love that you say opportunistic and not lucky, because I hear a lot of people saying lucky, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about, I mean, it's not just luck or the opportunity. Good teams make those plays when it matters.
Correct.
And
Yes,
so
they're prepared
opportunistic
and
is, I
ready.
think, a perfect word.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't. I wouldn't call all that stuff lucky. I think we've been in a position where when the opportunity presents itself, we've been able to capitalize on it, right? And it takes a good quality football team to do that. Now, from maybe a different standpoint, somebody who spends all day every day in the X's and O's, maybe not BYU's X's and O's, but when I watch the game, I can't very well take my coaching hat off. I like to watch it. We've been able to go to a lot of home games this year because it's just kind of the way our schedule has happened. And our family has two different sections of seats. We've got like fourth row tickets on the visitor sideline, and then we've got tickets, almost up at the top midfield behind BYU's bench. You know where I want to sit? I want to sit up top
so because you can see it.
I want to see all
field.
22, right? That's how I like to watch football.
Yeah.
And so kind of from that standpoint, I mean, I think we have two of the best defensive football players we've seen at BYU in a very, very long time. And being able to watch the way our defense plays, I think that's where we have been built. Then I think you couple that with the surprise to all of us, maybe not the people in the building. I'm very good friends with Matt Mitchell, who's the assistant quarterback coach right now.
Coached with you at Snow,
Coached
right?
with me at Snow.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to him when they had first signed a Bear and how excited he was. And this is still pre-losing
Jake.
So for Bear to come in and do what he's done.
Well, they hadn't signed him yet, but I guess they probably were having talk. They kind of knew he was.
Well, and Bear
was on the wall.
Bear also, he credits a lot of his ability to get in the playbook to Matt Mitchell.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Matt and Bear, it seems like they're really, really close.
Yeah,
and they're always together.
I mean, and so just to watch, a true freshman, yes, he got to spend a spring in college, but it wasn't with us. So like in all reality, he is a true
showed
freshman.
up at fall camp.
Yeah, the guy showed up at fall camp just like any other true freshman. For him to do what he's been able to do and to watch him get better every single week. But I think I would almost point that back to what we talked about earlier is especially Bear, but that spirit that these guys are playing with and to watch Bear, I was a big Jake fan. I thought Jake was a great football player. But I think you can kind of see their contrasting styles and kind of how they're different as people. And Bear reminds me a lot of John Beck and playing with John. John's the best leader I've ever been around in my entire life. And that's kind of a bummer because I always expect my quarterbacks to be similar in that leadership style. And so they have a pretty high bar to meet. But I see a lot of those qualities in Bear. His teammates love him. He never wants any of the credit. He wants to put deflect. Exactly. When we all know good and well how good he's actually playing. And so I think you couple that. I think you couple really good quarterback play with a defense that's, maybe as good as we've seen in a long time. And I think that is where, that's why we're sitting
where it comes
here.
from.
And we're looking at this thing and with what, if you watched a little college football today, you're kind of going, man, we got a chance to do this. And just a couple more tough road games. I think, you got to handle Cincinnati and you got to go to Texas Tech. And I think if you can get through those games,
we're in a good spot.
We're in a really good spot. We're in a really good spot.
One thing I love about how our defense is playing is that it's not the one or two guys. Even though we have the one or two guys, it's not those guys every time. It's someone new week in, week out. There's, oh my gosh, if we don't make that play from Trey Alexander, if we don't make that play, Evan Johnson, if we don't make that play, Jack Kelly, if we don't make that play, Tanner Wall. I mean, there's the whole defensive line's making plays. JT, I would argue, might be our best defensive lineman.
Yeah.
And he's making plays week in, week out, but it's not just him. And I think that's what's carrying our defense into a way that might get us to the conversation of defense wins championships because our offense is doing what it needs to do. One more question I have for you, Zach, about the way that the offensive coaching staff has kind of geared Bear up throughout the season.
Yes.
Do you do that with your quarterbacks? Like, is there, let's say, as a junior college coach, you get someone for 2 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you're rolling somebody out as they show up for fall camp. Are you week one thinking, okay, is your game plan tailored to that? Like, it seems like BYU's done a perfect job of, okay, unleash Bear, little by little, week in, week out. And right now it's looking like he can do whatever they need him to do.
I'd say their schedule's played a little bit into it.
Totally.
It's been perfect schedule for easy quarterback.
How do you do that?
Yeah. So first of all, to speak to the situation at BYU, I think A-Rod and Matt have done such a fantastic job of bringing Bear along. Because I think
no doubt.
You see the playbook becomes a little more open every single week, right? And we start to see things that we haven't seen the week prior. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned as a coach was that it's okay to do that. There was a year there that you probably were on our team where I didn't do that because I was afraid that our freshman quarterback didn't know the playbook fully. Wherein I think looking back, we could say he was probably going to be the better quarterback. And so you said, David, we had a very conducive schedule to where we could have. Week 1, week 2, week 3, we could have done that. And so looking back, right, that was 5 years ago. And I have, made a conscious effort we've got to get the best guy out there. And maybe if he's not the best guy week 1, he's going to be the best guy by week 3 or week 4. And so then we do have to tailor that game plan to what he's comfortable with, and B, what are his strengths, and how can we insert that into the game plan, and then week in and week out, just continue to build on that every single week. Yeah.
I was most excited probably where I've seen that happening with Bear. The first maybe 4 weeks, he was doing a lot with his legs, and we hadn't seen it with his arm yet. But the second that we needed him to do it with his arm, he showed he can do it. Yeah. And that's something, especially from a true freshman. If you think about him playing high school football last year,
it's amazing.
His season and there's no mission in between. There's no I went to JUCO. It's literally you were starting in high school last year.
10 months ago, this kid was on a high school football field.
Exactly.
Well, then he was at spring football at Stanford. Right. And so he didn't show up here until the fall. Yeah. He wasn't here till fall camp. He
it's
just
really
had such
impressive
a short window.
what Bear's doing. And now for so long on this podcast and just in general, we've been saying, oh, Bear's really good for a true freshman. But now I'm not saying that he's going to win the Heisman, but he's on the list. I mean, I've saw him on 2 Heisman watch lists this week from people throughout the country. And I'm like, okay, we can take off the true freshman. We can say you're a dang good quarterback.
Yeah.
Bear Bachmeier. Yeah. And it's been
what
really
do you
awesome to watch.
what do you think, Zach? I just want your take. Because he's showing up on Heisman watch, whatever, RG3, right? Number of people are saying, is he to the caliber yet that he should be a serious contender for a Heisman?
I think the Heisman Trophy, the Davey O'Brien, right? All of those. I think those awards are won in November. And so today is November 1st.
It's TBD.
Let's see what happens because, right, he has played very well. And I think Taylor makes a good point. You can now talk about him in a way that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Forget freshman quarterback. I mean, because he's won the Big 12 Freshman of the Year like every week. I swear that every week it's him. But now I think we can look at him and say, especially what he did at Iowa State and what he did against Utah, like, this guy legit. And you look at maybe some of the other top quarterbacks in the country, who are maybe not performing, right? 3 weeks ago, we're still talking about Miami as a national title contender, and then Beck kind of stumbles and now they've lost 2 games and you're kind of seeing him play. And, so you're looking at, okay, you've got the kid at Ohio State that now is probably the front runner, right? Like, but he's still got to beat Michigan. Yeah. And if he goes out and he plays terrible against Michigan, right? So that's why I say you get to November and
make it happen.
If Bear can have an awesome, if his November can look like October, then you might
talking.
Yeah. Then you're talking.
Finish strong, make a run, or at least we know we're going to the playoffs, right? We're getting to January 6th or whatever.
Win the Big 12, get into the playoff, and then now maybe he catapults himself into that mix.
Totally. I think it'll be really interesting. Like you said, I think it might be early for the Heisman talk, but not if he continues to play like he has, which is all the Heisman talk can be right now, because none of the other quarterbacks have done anything in November either. So,
well, and I think the thing that's going to hurt him the most is coming into the year, and this is why BYU wasn't ranked coming into the year. Oh, we lost Jake. We lost our starting quarterback. They're not going to be very good. And so for 4 weeks, nobody was watching Bear, right? Nobody even, they knew there was this quarterback in Provo wearing number 47, and they were like, that's gross, so we're not even going to pay attention.
And we play the late game, and everyone back east, nobody watches, and there's no hype around it, which that's another conversation we might be able to have maybe on the next episode too, but Bear Bachmeier being how it worked out, like you mentioned, BYU not being ranked high to start the year, that affects us more in football than it does in basketball. The preseason ranking, we like to say, oh, it doesn't matter, but it kind of does, because now BYU's trying to climb from a spot where all these teams were the teams that were up there to start. And so if we get into a place where we've lost a game or whatever, it could end up hurting us. I'm interested to see the next few weeks how the College Football Playoff Committee will react if we lose a game. Are they going to drop us too far? Because, they weren't ranked to start the year. We knew they weren't good the whole year. Oh, okay, they dropped a game. I'm interested to see how that's all going to play out.
It'll be interesting. Right now, what are we, 10th in the AP right now?
Yeah.
Tuesday, the first college football ranking comes out.
That'll be different than the AP.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah, I think it will be too. It always has been, I think, traditionally. Number 8, number 9 lost today, in Vanderbilt and Miami.
Yeah.
They both
Miami
lost today.
yeah.
And so, right, in the AP, do we move up to 8? Do we move up to 7?
Well, at least a spot or two, you'd think.
And so it'll be interesting to see. And, the good news is, though, what I like about the playoff is we can lose a game and we still can win the Big 12 and get into the playoff, right? And so even though the rankings are important, at the same time, win the Big 12, even if you have one loss, win the Big 12, get into the playoff, and now, go do something special.
It's just nice to not be independent anymore and have a conference with an opportunity like we have.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
We want to thank you, Zach. We really appreciate you being here. The insights that you've given, bringing, of course, your better half with you is a treat, of course.
No, she's the best BYU alum maybe not some of y'all, but in our family, she's the best BYU
She's
alum.
sitting over there all smiles. So encouraging us. This is great. So we appreciate you, and we appreciate you, our fans. We're going to call it a wrap today, and we do want to thank especially our producer, Beehive Broadcast, for bringing this to us. Make sure you subscribe to Beehive Broadcast and to our podcast, All In on Blue. We are the podcast that rocks, the podcast that never stops. We are All In on Blue, and we will see you next time.
Wow.
Who do you guys want?
He's a Dodgers fan.
Dodgers.
I want the Blue Jays.
Get out
You
of here.
want the Blue Jays?
You bum.
Since when did you become a Canadian?
I'm not a Canadian. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You did sneak it in.
Oh my gosh.